Yes, very developed.
Very quickly, early warning is high capital investment usually. Wherever it's not, we've been able to use it like the program I've described. And wherever there's high capital involved, and for flood early warnings, we have a flood commission, as you know. That works to a great extent, but half the time it's busy with the division of water issues, the telemetry between Sindh and Punjab, lower and upper riparians. It's a fight that rages everywhere as water becomes scarce, and it will be 2025 water scarcity time. Early warning systems are usually now, should be part of the Pakistan Met Department. It is now under aviation, I discovered when I came here. The Ministry of Aviation, General Saab, is running it. They wanted it some years ago and it went to them. And when I came into government, I called in the World Bank. They were taking back several loans. There are no more grants. Some were small grant component. I said, why? Because they were concessional loans. I looked at them and I said, what are these lapsing? Now they came through the window of climate change, meaning it went through my ministry, whoosh to whoever was in need. And Musharraf, it was $60 million lapsing. Why? It was for early warning systems. It was in the system for 2 years at least. It just sat there and the World Bank said, okay, we're taking the money back. And I was like, ooh, I was like a race car going, put the brakes on, stop. I guarantee they will be utilized. Don't do this. Found aviation, guys, PMD needs this. Oh, by now the money has depreciated to 45 million because of the rupee. Anyway, that was a year ago. And so that was stopped, and then they were told, okay, the World Bank came to meet me. I said, look, I will see to it that X, Y, Z, the important loans are used. Right. PMD, get your stuff together. Yes, ma'am. Wo sab ho raha tha, then came the great flood. All such funds, including climate, were repurposed to saving lives on the front line. That's what happens to the early warning system's money. It cannot be done without significant capital and technical outlay.
That might be
I hope it'll come again.
That might be a great parable for our country at large as well, unfortunately. Yeah. There's a question here, and then the final question to the gentleman behind you. Sir.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Nazir Ahmed, National University of Medical Sciences, Islamabad. Madam is one of the most educated and literate, politician, and we used to read her a lot as well previously. And being Minister of Climate Change, don't you think if the glaciers are melting and it's a reality, what mitigation measures we are going to take? Just like think, we are agrarian country, 70% population depending on agriculture, water is lifeline. If the lifeline is being cut in near future, Allah na kare, then what we are going to do as a nation? The big rethink, what we are rethinking basically. Most important thing, number one. Second thing, ma'am, energy. For industry, many entrepreneurs are here. If our industry, if we are getting the energy very expensive, how we are going to become competitive? These are my two questions. What is government policy then? Thank you.
What is energy?
पहला वाला जो है वो
एनर्जी पे क्या कह रहे हैं?
बिजली कहाँ से वही एनर्जी वाली बात की बिजली महंगी होती जाएगी पानी बहुत अहम है बिजली बहुत महंगी है इन दोनों मसलों को आप हल करें आप क्लाइमेट चेंज मिनिस्टर
नहीं क्या आप वाटर स्कैर्सिटी के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं यू टॉकिंग अबाउट वाटर स्कैर्सिटी
मैं बुनियादी तौर पर मैं जो बात कर रहा हूं कैन यू हियर मी
you're too close to the
what I am saying is if you talked about gloves glacial lake outburst
okay I got it
let me finish my question basically what I am saying is
glacial melt how
glacier melt लेकिन अगर हम बिजली नहीं अगर हम पानी को कंजर्व नहीं कर रहे हैं डैम्स नहीं बना रहे तो अगर ग्लेशियर मेल्ट हो गए, कल पानी ही नहीं हो गया तो एग्रीकल्चर का क्या होगा? दूसरा, अगर हम सस्ती बिजली जो पावर जनरेशन हम बना सकते हैं पानी से, वो हम नहीं बना रहे, और बिजली अगर इतनी महंगी कर रहे हैं, तो हम एज ए कंट्री मतलब व्हाट वी आर रीथिंकिंग, पॉलिसी हमारी क्या? और थर्ड, पेंडेमिक्स जो है
यार ये दो, आप सर डॉक्टर साहब प्लीज, दो सवाल थे आप सर. we're going to come to you for the last question.
Now,
Madam, please.
I need to look. The glacial melt is very real. I mean, the Alps have shut down their summer ski economy because there wasn't enough snow, and they are a highly resourced, rich economy, believe me. They are not able to do anything. I mean, I can't stand on top of the glaciers or make a large blanket for them to stop melting. No. Although I did send the United Nations people some research on maybe blanketing some glaciers, but that technology is not working. We're all waiting for new tech to stop glacial melt, but it's not going to. Glacial melt will continue at an accelerated pace, especially for glaciers that see a lot of activity. I mean, Siachen is one of the largest, highest battlegrounds in the world, and the erosion and melt of that glacier is very high. And you are quite right in asking the critical question about water linked to glacial melt. So for a few months, you have a lot of water coursing through the Indus system, and it's tough to manage because it causes flooding. And if you look at the river in the north, it's very different from the river in the south. The delta is flat and bone dry, so we have extremes. What are we going to do when the glaciers have melted and there is not enough water in the system? I think there will be enough water in the system for a long time, but that's not the issue. The issue is how that water is being used. And the prediction for glacial melt is Pakistan actually relies, unlike Indian hydro economy, totally on glacial melt. They rely on a mix of monsoon and glacial. We are, in the system is totally glacial. So it comes out in a fury for a few months and then it just slows down. The extreme drought and flooding are classic patterns of climate change. And I have explained earlier to you that mitigation for glacial melt, for the temperature you experience in Jacobabad, which is 53 degrees, not fit for, forget cultivation, human habitation, is not offset by your activity. That is why we fight at global forums. It is the historic polluters who have caused this. Even if they stop at the 1.5, if you know what I'm talking about, that temperature plus degree that after the Industrial Revolution, that is the degree set by the Paris Accord. Even if that emissions are coming down to that much temperature change, even then you are going to face the burn in climates such as ours. Because I'm saying that, no one's saying it. They're not going to speak for you. So I said, आप लोग जो 1.5 भी कह रहे हो, you are not at that. You are well past. The international system is well past 1.5. They're going to, we are hurtling towards a 2 degree or 2.5 degree. No hands down. If anyone's telling you otherwise at the conferences, do not listen. And I'm happy to take responsibility. It is the world is hurtling to a 2.5 to 2.8 degree world at best. And that is a terrible scenario for those of us in vulnerable economies. Small island states will sink in 8 years. That's why you have them fighting so hard. And climate vulnerable countries sinking in both debt and floods are going to face a very serious risk. But nothing in terms of lowering greenhouse gases and therefore glacial melt can be affected by what you and I do. What you and I can do is not use a hose pipe every morning for the car wash. These are the privileged elites. Everybody's washing their cars. When I go for a walk in the morning, everybody's hosing down their cars. Their staff is hosing and leaving it open. What for? Pakistan's per capita consumption of water is the 4th worst in the world. You don't have that luxury. When I make that video for advocacy save your water, how to save it. No one's interested. Some tacky, trashy political statement will play. That video does not play. You want to think about it, you can take actions too.
Final